intro?
Yes, we are. We are doing the intro now. Howdy, howdy. We are live, kind of, through some temporal shenanigans. We are broadcasting from the past into the future, but mostly live. But I'm sure there are people chatting in the live audience, eager to get our thoughts, our deep dive discussion on the 2-episode premiere of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5.
Joel and I might even be there. Who knows?
I might be for a little while. I'll be at work.
Yeah, I might be in the live chat right now. I might be like driving back from San Antonio, but we will have a lot of fun, I'm sure, talking about these episodes. So let's go ahead and get the show started. I'm Fatheree.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Joel.
And this is Tex-Trek.
Engage.
Welcome back aboard the Starship Texas for the 304th installment of the Tex-Trek podcast, the home of Star Trek fandom from deep in the heart of Texas, where we take a deep look at Star Trek, old and new. And tonight we have a double-header episode. We're going to be talking about Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 1, Dos Cerritos, written by Aaron Burdette and directed by LLoyd, and also talking about Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 2, Shades of Green, written by Keith Foglesong and directed by Bob Suarez. I'm lucky enough to be joined by Joel and Aaron to talk about these 2 episodes. Sorry if we're not super interactive with the live audience, but we had to pre-record this because I'm attending today. Hopefully, if everything went according to plan, I attended SpaceCon San Antonio. So hopefully that was
There's
a
lot
cool
of
convention.
chronoton interference. So
Yeah, all kinds of tons.
in San Antonio, it's true. San Antonio is known for its tons.
It's weird not having like the chat up and like keep looking
I know,
over like
yeah.
there's nothing to look at.
Normally,
but,
I'm copying and pasting people's usernames to say hi.
But I do have a little bit of a quick housekeeping to get through. I do need to say thank you to the wonderful, lovely Tex-Trek Patreon supporters who make the live show, when it's typically live, possible. But thank you so much. Starfleet So Hell, Cake is Eternal, Crazy Dutchie, Joanne Robertson, John Daw, Geek Filter, Quarks Bar, Stephanie Durantes, Matthew Averett, Braxton, Chuck A, Joel Vallis, Benginium, Arthur Lamoureux, our associate producer, Chris Garris, who I hopefully ran into in San Antonio today, Dave Farabee, and our anonymous supporters. And we like to celebrate with our supporters every month with our Patreon watch parties. Our next one is coming up November 23rd. We're actually celebrating associate producer Chris Garris's birthday and watching Star Trek First Contact. So pretty popular movie with a really cool crowd. Should be a great time. That's going to be 3:30 p.m. Central on November 23rd. Anyone in the Patreon's invited to attend that. You can join as little as $2 a month. And if you can afford to be more generous, there's some additional perks too, like getting birthday watch parties like that. So should be fun. And with that being said, we do have 2 big-ass episodes to talk. Well, I guess not big-ass episodes. There are these 30-minute ones, but they pack in so much on Lower Decks. They always feel like hour-long episodes. It always takes as long to like unpack everything.
They're regularly asked.
But Dos Cerritos, speaking of things being like double stuffed, we get 2 Cerritos crews in this episode. So I'm going to ask y'all's thoughts on it in 1 second. I'm just going to quickly recap it by reading the official synopsis, and I'll kind of expand on that with spoilers. But the official synopsis reads: a spatial anomaly forces the Cerritos crew to face their own faces. Tendi pirates. But yeah, we have the Cerritos crew go to a parallel universe where things are only slightly different, just a 0.327% variance. And while they face that, Tendi has to deal with a pirate crew that wants to be murderous, and she wants to have Starfleet values, and that's a bit of a struggle. But we get a cool setup for the next episode we're going to talk about. Aaron, I'll just let you kick things off with the first opening statement. But what were your
Sure.
broad thoughts on the season premiere, Dos Cerritos?
I always like parallel universe stories, so that was fun, and I enjoyed the slight visual change in their uniforms, so you could tell them apart. One with the other universe is slightly darker.
Mm-hmm.
You have Ransom arguing with his handsome self and stuff like that, which was all done really nicely. But I'm happy that it didn't go into a whole bunch of like mirror universe type tropes and stuff like that, where it just felt predictable. It was a little predictable, but it's also setting up, it feels like, for the rest of the season. There's certain things that come out of this episode that you can see carrying out through the rest of the year, through the season. I mean, with Boimler and his pad, and Mariner and her command style and all that. So I think that was really, I appreciated that. And of course, I love seeing the blue Orions with Tendi and all that.
Yeah.
So, that's a
drama.
animated series thing. Yeah, if you've ever watched the animated series, The Pirates of Orion, but it's pronounced Orion for some reason, and we had talked about that. The 50th anniversary just came up, and nobody really knows why it happened. There's two schools of thought. That one is that the phonetical thing that they get to tell them how to pronounce everything was misspelled, so they just pronounced it wrong, or someone early on pronounced it wrong, and then they didn't want to re-record it, so they made everybody else say it the other way. So those are the two options that we're thinking. But yeah, so that was fun. That's where Orion comes from, if you ever wondered.
Joel, what about you? What was your broad thoughts on Dos Cerritos?
Yeah, I agree. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, it was sort of like Mirror Universe Light is how I thought of it. The Beckyverse, or I think that's what I dubbed it.
Oh yeah, maybe we could call it the Beckyverse. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
because it's not the Mirror Universe for sure, but
No,
there is a few I mean, there's nods like, and of course, Becky is trying to rule through fear, though it doesn't seem like maybe that's the normal thing in Starfleet. Maybe some people do it, but making the whole ship.
the Cerritos is mostly brig, which is kind of funny.
Yes.
That was a good line.
So I assume just like everyone's just locked in their quarters, and then like their replicator doesn't like make everything. It's just like gruel because you're in jail. But that's the only way I can think of that, because you're not really going to change the whole thing otherwise. But or maybe they do, but they didn't show that. But and then yeah. Let's see what else is trying to differentiate these two episodes now in my mind is hard.
Yeah, they all they connect really nicely.
Right.
You can see why they put two of them out at the same time.
Yeah, Tendi's arc, her mini arc, started and finishes with these two, so it makes sense. But let's see here. Yeah, it was fun, and yeah, and Rutherford gets a pretty big arc, or not big, but a small mini arc with these two, because he's just out of it without Tendi there.
Yeah,
He throws
there's
himself into work.
more consequence with it than I thought.
Yeah.
There, I appreciate that now that you bring it up. Like we felt her absence more than, because we all knew they were going to hit the reset button and get her back on the ship pretty quickly.
Oh,
so.
sure.
Yeah.
But they drew him to look harried at the beginning.
Yeah, distressed
He
Rutherford.
looked tired, and he had little animated bags under his eyes, and he lurks in the dark while they're around. But
For me, this episode really surprised me with how much Tendi and Orionness they put in here. I thought we would get like maybe a scene or an extended sequence with them, but that'd be it. But
Like at the end.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking, this would be like our big go to a parallel universe episode, and then the next episode would be the big Orion stuff. But they had so much Orion stuff, they had to get it kickstarted here. Well, with the parallel universe stuff, I thought that was a fun idea to explore a universe that's only slightly different. You know, they joke around about it, Boimler being like, what if it's someplace where people have like feet for hands and feet for eyes, maybe feet for something, more creative. But yeah, we see like the mirror universe where it's like, what if everyone's like an evil jerk? Something that's like very, very much different. If there are actually all these like, infinite number of parallel universes, most of them would be just slightly different variances like that. But the cool dramatic side of that for your story purposes is that's a neat situation to put your characters in. That's kind of a neat scenario that we can all relate to, of like, oh yeah, maybe if I did make just slightly different choices, my life could be radically different. And we see with Boimler and Mariner both, it could be for the better or the worse. I'm not
Stargate
sure.
did that too at one point. They have like their parallel people that are just slightly off, but then it creates a ripple.
Oh, I didn't know they did that in Stargate, but I liked that because that would be like the more science-y likelihood I would imagine, but I'm not sure if I like Mariner being capable of being such a jerk if she's only supposed to be like slightly different. Like she is like a really terrible person in that universe, but I loved the Boimler stuff so much I can forgive and overlook the Mariner, and it is kind of like fun drama to see her confront the worst version of herself while Boimler gets to see like the best version of himself. Or what
Did you notice he
think
did
of as
the
best.
Riker stance when he went to take command of the captaincy? He like took his leg and flipped it over the chair like Riker.
I didn't notice that, but I guess we know from the Strange New Worlds crossover that our Bradward Boimler is a fan of the Riker maneuver, and he did serve with Riker for a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's
I
cool.
thought that was cool. A nice little right before the screen closes, you see him do that.
Well, the episode, it opened, speaking of all the Tendi and the Orion stuff, if we want to get into our episode breakdown, we start off with Tendi that's somewhere in the Beta Quadrant on that collector ship. So I think that's actually a character model they've used before, but he's based on the collectors in the most toys, the Kivas Fajo's buddy that he was trying to out collect. But I looked up the character. Palor Toph had like the little gold jewelry that goes with the nostril and stuff. He also had the Velton. They called it a sex idol on TNG. They call it a lust idol, Velton lust idol here. But we actually see it here. We had never seen it before.
He also has that red chair thing in the middle of the room, the velvety, and the sconces. Everything is like, it's all kind of like the same aesthetic.
This was the clip we had already seen. They released this on Star Trek Day back in September, but it was still kind of fun to see Tendi in disguise. And I think the first time I saw that clip, I figure out like, oh wait, I think that's Noelle Wells doing the voice. That's supposed to be like undercover Tendi, but it reminded me, it was fun to like kind of see that like unfold and start off her pirate shenanigans at the beginning of the season in the first scene.
Yeah.
And Aaron did notice that because we had seen what looked like the mobile emitter in one of these clips. And Aaron noticed that's what she was using to disguise herself in that undercover scene.
Yeah, so that social media I was like, oh, maybe that means the doctor's there or something.
Yeah,
no, that's what she used to look like the other person.
Oh, and we see that technology being kind of like casually used in Star Trek Picard several years later, but the Doctor does say in either season 6 or season 7 of Voyager, I just came across this, and he does say something in that episode that I would like my emitter to be used to, maybe we can replicate this technology back in the Alpha Quadrant and other holograms be able to use it. So there is like a good explanation for that technology becoming more commonplace.
I still want to know why the Temporal Integrity Committee let that slide.
Yeah.
Like, here's a giant technology. We'll just let that. Yeah, that's fine.
I guess Janeway gets away with it. Well, we know from Prodigy that she's also responsible for getting that all good things comm badge. That was the end game. Janeway brought that back.
Yeah,
and maybe if someone from the future came and was like, "You need to leave this. The Doctor saves Janeway. Janeway defeats the Borg. You can't change that."
But speaking of Borg, in our opening credit sequence, after we get the pirate scene with Tendi, we get the I guess this is like the end of Lower Decks. I guess this is like the final version. Maybe they'll do something better for like the finale. They'll add even more in there, but
That would be
they added a
hilarious.
lot to like the big Borg battle, you know.
Yes.
Previously, we had Romulans, Klingons, Borg, the crystalline entity, a brain ship, and the well probe, and so they've added Tholians.
Were there Pac-Lids in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've had the Pac-Lid since season 2,
Okay.
but they've added the Tholians making a Tholian web,
Yep.
V'ger, and the green space hand from Who Mourns for Adonais. It's not Adonis,
Yes.
it's Adonais.
No, as a
Yes.
kid, I always thought it was Adonis, and then when I
Yeah,
heard somebody say it, I'm like,
we
oh,
all did.
Yeah. And
I
I believe
finally
that hand
came
is one
around
of the
this year.
animators. There was an interview with Brad, the Sci-Fi Sisters did it last night, and they were talking about how somebody put some of themselves, I think, into the intro is what they said. So I'm assuming that means it's the guy's hand.
Yeah, it's probably
cool.
not V'ger, but
No, I don't think so.
But I think after Star Trek Beyond, Simon Pegg mentions the giant green space hand there. There's been kind of a resurgence in awareness of it. So I liked seeing that.
It was in the
visually
credits in
manifest here.
2009, right?
Or no, I think it was in Beyond. Yeah, Beyond was the one where they show it in
Oh,
the
yeah.
in the credits.
Okay.
yep.
But I guess let's talk about the lower deckers and their cross-dimensional story, and then we'll switch back to talking about Tendi and the pirate stuff. But we get our first look at the Cerritos lower deckers. They're hanging out in their workshop and get some Calto between T'Lyn and Mariner and Boimler and the Fleet magazine. So, what do y'all think of Starfleet's periodical Fleet magazine?
Makes sense.
Everybody always makes this joke. It's like it's Aaron's turn to talk about improv. In our improvised Star Trek, we had a McGinley magazine. It was the ship's magazine. So I just like had to laugh when I saw that. I was like, hey, we did something like that. But that was great. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. They have Navy magazines and things like that. There is that.
Yeah,
does
why wouldn't
exist.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
And of
I
course,
did notice the ship when we saw it
Yeah.
real quick before when they pull in. It looks like it has some of that pearlescence from the motion picture. If you look at it, it looks a
Oh.
little bit like it's
Okay.
been polished up a bit.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I love the magazine.
They do kind of tweak like the ship models sometimes, like between seasons.
Mhm.
So yeah, but they might have added something to it there. We're not gonna have time to do Gorn eggs, where we talk about all the in jokes, Easter eggs, and continuity connections. But there was some like fun stuff on like the cover of the magazine. It had like an article advertised as Q Who, like the episode, and something like the top 10 Riker moments, like stuff that like looks like, oh, that might be like
Yeah.
a Trek culture video or something, or an article on the site. I like the Naomi Wildman shout out. I like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
People are, I guess, reading about her.
She's like 10 years old.
Well, she was doing some impressive Starfleet stuff.
Sorry, Brad Boimler.
Yep.
Joel, you were pointing out the distressed Rutherford. We get the sad Ruthy workaholic. He turns to work to distract himself.
Yeah, he's not sleeping well. No. He looks tired. He looks haggard, but he's got to keep, the thoughts of Tendi being away. So,
Well, yeah, I guess that kind of starts. If the season is going to be, Boimler kind of on the quest of like, maybe I should be like further along in my career. I'm not getting like the magazine articles written about me like this other version of myself is. So I guess they're getting that started here with his first scene of the season, and they're also setting up whatever's going on with these quantum ruptures with they mentioned this is like the third one this month, and so I think we are going to be dealing with a season-long mystery.
Yes.
I don't know how big of a they've already like gone to like a parallel universe. If they're not going to like do that again, I don't know how this is going to be like a recurring thing, but unless they're receiving visitors from like other universes maybe. But even
They
that it
bring.
get
I don't know.
old.
They also bring up Freeman, like the alternate universe
Yes.
Freeman, that she is sent to the Starbase 80, and that seemed like it was a big enough thing to be a hook for something, but then they didn't do anything with it. So maybe that somehow, maybe we go back to that universe or something.
At first, I thought she was just dead when we first watched, and then they're like, no, she's, sentenced
I'm
to
assuming that
Starbase
Becky
80.
sent her there.
Yes, probably. Or, if you send your mom to
somehow,
Starbase 80, you become a captain. And I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't have to kill her. You just have to.
But when they get through the dimensional rift and we meet the other Mariner, the Captain Becky Freeman, I'm happy that we we kind of suspected this for a long time because Mike McMahon's sister is named Beckett Mariner McMahon. Like her middle name is
For
Mariner,
real?
but
I didn't know that. Huh.
but they finally confirmed that is why Mariner is called Mariner instead of Freeman as a last name. She changed her. Or just whatever, uses her middle name in Starfleet, I guess is maybe an option. Glad that's finally confirmed. I needed that, set in canon. What do y'all think of the other, the alternate Cerritos crews? We have a King Billups, Mullet Ransom.
I like that they had the two different Kazintis, although they didn't seem to have that much difference between them.
Oh, yeah. And the two different...
Taylors.
The guy, Livick, who had the rivalry with Rutherford in engineering last season, when you see the two Livicks paired up, I don't think they had any lines, but they're both looking at each other with suspicion and jealousy. It's that's the alternate Livick does the same thing as this one. I don't know. I just thought that was funny.
But to each
it's a
other.
funny visual.
And Dr. Tan, they don't have. She doesn't really have lines about it, but she's just basically catfighting with herself and chasing herself at various points.
There was also something with Kayshawn is Kayshawn when he met himself or something like that.
It was when they have the argument, but it's in their Temerian language.
Yeah,
that was pretty funny.
And we do get Becky saying, "What the Kazinti bleep," and I almost lost it for that. And then
there's also I noticed that they actually did the finger gesture too at one point. It's that's surprising.
Oh yeah. And then we get the ultimate callback to the Next Generation was right after that "What the Kazinti bleep" line. Becky says, "There's no interpersonal conflict allowed on my ship."
That made me laugh out loud. That was a good one.
Yes, that was Roddenberry.
Yep.
That was
I hope Ron Moore and those other the guys who worked in the Berman era. I hope they see this episode and hear that line and I think they would laugh the hardest at that.
The behind the scenes
brought it up
thing where
once
they had
before.
Where they had the bust of Roddenberry and they put the blindfold over it.
Yeah, Rick Berman said he would have to blindfold the. I don't know if he actually did that or not, but I'm sure there were times when he felt like he needed to do that.
I think was it a Crisis Point or something where they mentioned no interpersonal conflicts or something they've mentioned it once before too.
Probably, in Crisis Point 2 when they're talking about the integrity of the of the Vindictiverse and stuff like that.
But we now know that the other universe also feels that way. So
it looked like most of these people didn't work well with their alternate selves. But I feel like maybe I would be like T'Lyn. I think I would get along with myself, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
I expected
maybe
T'Lyn to kind of do that. Actually, it was very similar to Stargate. Actually, when Sam, the scientist, worked with the other Sam, they were, basically you've got two Spocks now, kind of a thing.
But yeah, I was not expecting the kind of the turn when we saw just how big of a jerk Becky is when she's pretty brutal on that ship.
The writing crop was just okay.
Yes.
Writing crop maybe a bit much, but it is a Star Trek 3 nod, so.
And it's a military thing. We actually looked this up. We were watching.
Oh yeah, that's right. The swagger stick.
Because it's swagger stick. Patton had one.
Yeah.
And then I remember getting Star Wars action figures. I think Medine. He just comes with a stick.
The Imperials. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was the rebel, but or am I getting the name wrong? One of the generals. But yeah, they just come with a stick instead of a blaster, and I was always disappointed as a child. But then I learned, it's a real thing. It's not just made up for Star Wars action figures, but
it still doesn't make it much more fun though.
No,
it's still a stick.
For pointing.
And I
guess you can point at charts.
Oh yeah.
I liked the infrastructure they had to build between the Ford nacelles. I talked about this a little bit when we did like our trailer breakdown recently, but like the way that the two Cerritoses have to line up their nacelles together, where they're one is upside down and turned the opposite way. Just
Yep.
like it's the most like inelegant way to like
Yeah.
these like kind of like kind of quasi ugly on purpose designs, just like lined up together. But I liked the scene of the two Rutherfords and the two Boimlers and having the cyborg functional in the vacuum, like the Borg in First Contact was kind of cool. It just is like big budget stuff that you probably won't see on a live action show when they have to do like this spacewalk and build like this new structure and all this stuff. But in animation, you can do that kind of just casually.
I did like
the
though
third
that,
arm.
that you when they have them upside down too, like their gravities are. I mean, that's something you don't see a lot in live action, just because people are like, it has to be straight up. Everybody has to be the same level. It's like I like that they just did that.
Yeah, because we've had ships like upside down next to each other, but they're always facing the same way.
Yeah.
Because they do that in warp on various things. But yeah, it's the first time we've ever actually seen that, I think. So that's new.
I was not only like surprised at how mean that Becky Freeman apparently is, but also like Tawny Newsome did like talk about this at the New York Comic Con panel a few days ago. But I guess like this Becky Mariner has like zero cool. She's like the least cool person. It was like
Friendamundo.
And like that didn't give it away, but like when she called Freeman mother.
Yeah.
And then like she immediately knew like, okay, you're clearly an imposter. But yeah, that kind of surprised me. Just like, man, like that slight 0.327% variance like really made Mariner pretty uncool and lame, I guess.
You can kind of tell, like, they were talking about when the same thing with the bug monster from the first episode.
Yeah.
I think so. Happened that was the same. So you could kind of see that maybe she just took a more extreme path or something like that. You can like, I'm doubling down on being better or something like that, or I'll show my mom and I'll be like so good that she won't even and then she just becomes mean about it.
And then she hates her life and wants to escape.
Yeah. Which is very very Mariner.
They've done this
true.
They've done this a couple of times where they'll give Mariner like the exact same line that her mom had, or I think it's gone like the other way where Freeman will say like the exact same. But when she gets like the sarcastic Vulcan salute and she says, "Don't give me that sarcastic Vulcan salute,"
It's
and
the
then
same
screams,
animation
"Beckett!"
too.
Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, that's what that feels like." But that's I don't know. That's always fun to me. Like when
great.
these actors are like really good at like imitating one another, like a real like a mother and daughter would be able to.
Yeah, she really did sound like Carol Freeman when she was doing that.
Oh yeah.
And then I liked that, and I also liked that our Mariner, Prime Mariner, when she was trying to command the other Cerritos, like she didn't like keep up. They didn't do like the annoying thing where they had her like kind of like keep up the lie. She just kind of like came clean pretty quick.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good choice.
I like that they hung a lantern on the fact. It's like, yeah, they did the old switcheroo, and it was just like how tired is that?
Oh yeah, like what you say, like that was like so played out and hacky, or like something like that. It's
yeah.
Sometimes when you're writing TV, you can get away with subpar writing if you like point it out to the audience.
Yep.
Like we know you at home are smart enough to see what we're doing here, so just forgive us for this one and go along with it. I like that too. I don't know why that works so well, but it really does. You just like, if something doesn't quite make sense or something is like too big of a coincidence, it's like just have like a character acknowledge it and you're good.
Yeah.
And it was also really great too because at one point Rutherford refers to his counterpart as Rutherford.
That was fun.
And I thought that was adorable and so on point for Rutherford.
If you ever watched Fringe, they had like other names, like Olivia was Foglivia, the other on the other side. So it's like, yeah, so that's kind of fun.
Rutherford just like sticks though as soon as and like bearded Boimler. Like I think they were talking about like bearded Boimler at the Comic Con panel, but so like that, like I went into this episode like already I guess expecting that, but yeah, that name just like sticks. It's just
so he either has purple hair or he dyes his beard purple.
Well, he did. Yeah, they did mention dyeing his hair at some other episode.
And In
one of
I
his
think it was
logs.
yeah, I think it was the season 3 premiere when they have to steal the Cerritos to rescue Captain Freeman.
And they
well,
have
they
to go
didn't
get the
have
logs.
to. It was the joke, but
Yeah.
yeah. When they're going through his logs, he mentions like purple hair dye. I think there.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, why not dye your beard too? I guess.
He's
Or is that
very,
an Ira Stephen Bear reference?
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah, I didn't even think of that.
He doesn't dye
Um,
his head hair, but the beard.
He does. He dyes his goatee. So
The beard, but not like he's
Yeah.
on top.
Oh,
He doesn't
no.
do, but yeah.
And the other line that made me laugh was when she's trying to convince her mom that like, oh, I'm the real your daughter. Is when she says that last week you asked me to look at a weird mole, and then Captain Freeman was like, okay, stop, yeah, that's enough, yeah, like,
yeah.
that was funny.
Yeah, she was all prepared for that not to work, and then it just
funny thing
goes
with
into
that
the whole
pad-
thing.
Oh, sorry.
Did
Go
do y'all think bearded Boimler left the pad floating there on purpose? Do you think he was like trying to help out his other universe self?
I didn't think so.
That does seem odd. Just like I'm
possible.
just gonna like leave this floating here and then not think about it
Yeah.
again. But,
Unless he thought he would just stay there. And,
He was just
why
thinking
he
about the,
checked out.
sitting in the center seat, and
Yeah.
he doesn't have time to think about pads.
I pointed out that pad on the poster when it first came out. I was like, that kind of looks like a motion picture pad because like the color and stuff like that. And who's the person who made is it Jeff? The guy who made the posters. Forget his name. But the
maybe
artist.
Mike?
Yeah. Anyway,
His last name starts with M.
Oh yeah. But he had mentioned that it's like, yeah, that there's a thing about that we'll talk about later, and he just never did. I'm like, okay, I don't know. So now I know what it is. It's like it was done differently on purpose. It wasn't just your standard Starfleet pad.
yeah, it's supposed to be a little recognizable and memorable when we see it on screen. I
Right.
guess. Okay. And yeah, I didn't realize they had like tweaked the design of that, but I'll keep an eye out for that going forward in the season. Did y'all have like any other thoughts on the Cerritos storyline and the trans-dimensional stuff before we talk about the Tendi stuff that was in this episode?
No, I think we got it all.
Yeah, I think so.
The I got a good laugh out of the Tillin's joke at the end. I thought that made me happy to see her. Remarkable. I have fooled you, or whatever she
Yeah.
says. But I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, it shows that she's integrating a little bit more into the Cerritos crew.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess the one thing in my notes that we didn't talk about was the alternate Ransom arguing that his was the prime universe.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that
Very
was
on
good.
Very on
Yeah.
point for Ransom to be the one to do that. So,
But you would think someone now that they use that term in the show, and I guess why
Yeah.
not? Why not have characters say mirror universe, prime universe?
Prime,
Like
yeah.
you might as well. It's a good
Yeah.
shorthand. But yeah, like that would come up. That's like in DC Comics, wouldn't like every universe think they were like Earth One? Like
It'd be funny if everybody called themselves Earth One. Like you
I
get
think
there and it's like, we're Earth One, so are we.
Futurama did that. They had like we're Earth One, and the other universe is like we're Earth A. Like they both wanted to be classified as like the first. But
Yeah, I thought that was amazing. Who's the real? We don't have time to argue who's the real universe and who's the freakishly different universe or whatever.
Yeah.
it said.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I'm glad that they had some fun with that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Tendi's story in this first episode. We see her on the ship get the call from her sister to Erica, who we saw last year in the wedding episode. So she's having to collect a certain amount of pirate booty, like collect enough tribute for the family, and then eventually get to like go back to the Cerritos. So that's kind of Tendi's goal.
yeah, buy her way out. Yeah.
So she can go back and debate the ethics of goop. I think is what her sister said.
Yeah, that was an interesting line. Yeah, debating ethics of goop, but I guess that does kind of sum up I guess Starfleet if you want to be kind of like jokey and dismissive of it, but what like Armus changelings, like a lot of goop, the silver blood things in Voyager. I guess there's like a lot of
Yeah.
ethical conversations around goop in Starfleet if you think about it.
Even the
I like-
silicon things could be goop, kind of.
Yeah.
I liked
in the water.
I thought it was like a fun, like piratey idea of like, oh, we're gonna go get a shipwrecked ship. You know, that's kind of a cool classic idea,
Yeah.
and kind of like building like this Orion mythos and like the Great Plague, and that ties into things we learn in the original series. You know, one of the early mentions of Orion is in What Are Little Girls Made Of, when we meet Chapel's fiance, Roger Corby, who's going to be a Strange New Worlds character now. But his claim to fame that made him like such like a big deal was that he found some cool immunity information studying Orion, ancient Orion stuff and Orion archaeology. So yeah, at one point, like Orions did have like really cool medical technology that was still applicable in the 23rd century. So that's it's a fun like deep cut that if you don't
In
remember
yesteryear, they
that.
went back to like the beginning of Orion culture too.
Right,
so that,
right.
Like, they were really studying that.
Yeah, so I think I don't know. This is like I guess kind of like my own headcanon, but the idea that I walk away from that is like, what if like Orions they were at like one point a bit more less piratey and just like a really like maybe they're like the ancient Romans, and then like whenever they fell, whenever they collapsed, then they kind of became like these pirates or whatever, these criminals.
Kind of like the
That
was it
would
the
work.
Minbari? Not the Minbari. The in Babylon 5, the hair.
Oh yeah, the
shoot.
boneheads.
Yeah. No, not the boneheads. The other ones that were
Oh, the Centauri.
the Centauri. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's mention of a rogue archaeologist who sold the coordinates of the ship to both the Orions and the Orions, it seems. But I was wondering if that was going to turn out to be someone we knew, like Petra Aberdeen
Yeah. so I
or
wondered that too.
Vash.
Yeah, those
Oh,
are the two we
Vash.
know of. I was thinking, yeah, Petra, and maybe we'll run into her later this season too. But
I'd rather see Mariner get together with her rather than Jennifer, honestly.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I liked
Put people
Petra.
together. Yeah.
I bet they're gonna do something in like a novel or something with Petra Aberdeen because she has like ties to Picard. I bet they do something with like that's just like a
Yeah.
fun like like this like Indiana Jones but like this cool chick but in Star Trek. That's a fun premise for something right there.
And there's
I want more
enough
Petra.
leeway and what they've done with her already that it's not like it's written in stone about how she is exactly. So there's
Oh, yeah.
plenty of room to explore that.
So Aaron, I know you said you were excited about the blue Orions showing up in this episode, but yeah,
A
we
little
we
less
get them-
excited that they seemed kind of Pac-Led like. I'm not sure what that was about, but
that
Okay.
was during the laughing gas part, though. I realized later.
kind
When
of.
they
But they were
seemed
like,
the
nobody makes
most
fun of our
pack-
stupid uniforms or whatever. That wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just the way they.
I was
spoke,
upset,
as
and then I
opposed to-
remembered. Oh yeah, but there was the laughing gas, so they're acting dumber than normal. I'm trying to make it work better in my head. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it is, but
They're a patriarchy. That was interesting.
yes,
So
and
we
that
have like
we have a difference now between the blue and
Yeah.
greens.
Yeah,
'Cause,
and
yeah,
the
not only-
patriarchy kind of ties into some of the just some like the past depictions of like Orion
Yeah.
women of being slaves and some of the stuff they did in
Yeah.
I guess mainly in the original series and Enterprise. And then Enterprise, tried to fix it in the season 4 episode Bound, but that has its own issues that
yeah.
But now
Well,
we
and
can
the
think
whole-
there's two parallel cultures, at least
Yeah.
maybe not on the necessarily the planet Orion, but in their
Yeah.
mini star empire.
Well, and they
And
said
it-
shades of green, which is interesting because if you look in some of those group scenes, there are different shades of green too, which was
Yeah.
like there's brighter, duller. Like it's like that's kind of cool. So not everybody has
and
exactly
that one
the
is
same
basically
color.
not green at all. One of her crewmates.
That's true. Yeah.
She's
some
almost
people
brown.
are more
Yeah.
olive, some people are more like
Yeah.
bright
Yeah.
green.
From the north.
But
The
it's,
blue,
it's that
they should be from the
species-
north because they're blue.
Yeah.
It's that
probably.
species diversity that we
Yeah.
often talk about.
They do it really well.
Wanting more of.
Yeah. It is interesting though. They did change the symbol on the blue Orions because that was
Yeah.
the standard one. I mean, it's been hundreds of years, so or 100 and whatever years.
And
so,
if
yeah,
they're a
I mean, it's possible that
splinter group, they
yeah,
always
they
change.
could have
their
changed by
symbols.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was interesting, and I like their little. You see their ships, which look more like the one we saw in the animated series than the ones that we see from Erica's group and everything. So yeah, no, I was really excited. I love that they embrace the whole pirate vibe as well, which is kind of cool. The ships and everything. So,
And I can understand Aaron like thinking like they were kind of played like a little like too I don't know, like too jokey, like kind of like too much, like, oh, look at like this goofy thing from the
Yeah.
old cartoon. But with the line about like you know, they're making fun of like their uniforms and stuff. If you
Yeah.
look at the comic book artist Todd McFarlane, who's like known for like a lot of his Spider-Man stuff. He created like the character Venom. He created like the character Spawn, but he did a drawing of like the TAS style Orions for the comics at one point, and he made that design look pretty damn cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
I kind of would like it more. You know, I guess that's my thing is when we take like these old classic ideas and instead of being like, oh, this is like, you know, kind of like corny and dated, instead of like, I prefer it when people do something cool with it. And like, no, I'm actually like not embarrassed of this. I embrace it. That's kind of my preference. But you know, Lower Decks being an animated comedy, you kind of like it's always
Right.
gonna like
Oh, yeah. No,
skew
I
more
understand.
comedy. But
I wasn't upset or anything. It was just sort of like a little, okay.
yeah, I can totally see that. But
Especially because it's weird just because it was the 50th anniversary recently. I know the person who wrote the story. You know, I know the person who drew this. It's very strange to know that, and for a thing that seems like no one should still be alive, whoever worked on that show.
Yeah.
But the kind of like atypical behavior of Orion's like in that episode, and it kind of does like, you know, it feels more appropriate now. It kind of all like gels together. Like the Orions we see in Discovery and Enterprise and the original series, they kind of, I don't know, they just all feel like
Discovery looks very different too. Yeah, they have that really kind of waxy, kind of pallor, and so yeah, it's kind of cool that we have now a kind of a in canon reason for all of that.
And I like,
And it makes
like,
sense too. Like, if you know your society is all a bunch of pirates out for themselves,
Yeah.
then they're not united.
How cohesive
so
is it going to be?
Yeah,
Right.
it works that they can have all these parallel things.
Yeah, it's gonna naturally kind of splinter off.
Well, the different pronunciation, that actually is kind of cool. That people do that
Yeah.
in real life. So
Yeah, totally. It was a funny delivery of like, oh, blue Orions, like, oh, green Orions. So-
yeah. That was pretty funny.
And I like,
And even
like
the trial one, or it's like, you know, oh, it was like, and that's not how it's pronounced, or just like yelling at them.
I like
Mike
a,
McMahon is making sure kids won't learn about blue Orions in the street. They'll learn it at home with their family.
the way they should.
Yes.
But I like that, like Tendi's crew, how there's also like a lot of like diversity. Like they have like different like hairstyles and stuff. I don't know, there's like a lot of like character in the designs. All the Orion stuff like looked really great in season 4, and I loved getting more of it in season 5 right off the bat. And they also all had like different dreams. You know, they all just like, I guess that's even more like cultural diversity. It's like, oh no, it's not like we're a whole society of people who want to be pirates. They want to
We
like
could
dance
distract them
and
with
bake
dance.
Yes, the dance line was perfect.
and we're teaching ethics at Orion University, but only evening seminars once or twice a week.
I wonder what kind of ethics that would be too. That'd be interesting.
Orion ethics. But
Dividing
that's
up
what is
treasure
that?
between.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there seems to be like codes to it. They have like a lot of rules. So.
True.
But yeah, the episode ends with Tendi performing a non-lethal capture of the ship, and that leads to the Blue Orions declaring war and are set up for our next episode. So if y'all are ready, we can go ahead and dive into episode 502, Shades of Green.
I was so worried this was going to be a clip episode, you know, because of like
Like
Shades, of Grey.
Yeah,
Oh no.
I
Thankfully,
much
it was
prefer
I didn't even
Shades
think
of
about
Green. Yeah,
Now,
Green
I'm sure
was a better
Mike could do a
episode
good
than Grey.
job.
The
but,
cave episode was a clip episode.
Yeah, it
but this
was.
Yeah.
And Veritas,
that was
it just, like,
fabulous.
they just
but we
weren't
already
clips
did that.
that we had seen. Yeah, it was like they made up their own clips. Shades of Green, the synopsis reads, Tendi races to stop a conflict while Boimler and Mariner race to stop capitalists. Rutherford fixes a door. Who the hell is writing these synopses?
Rutherford fixes
Lower
a
de-
door.
Like they did this dumb shit last season 2 and season 4. We had like synopses like this, but
They're trying to be like old weird TV guide synopsis
Yeah,
or
like
something.
make sure that
It's
you
just
won't
like-
actually figure out the real plot.
I'm laughing now because like I didn't like read these before. I just copied and pasted them into my notes. Like
Yeah.
now like I'm reading these. I'm like,
What the?
look at what these fools are writing here. But
It's
but
like
yeah,
when the old Star Trek thing, like the Enterprise finds a strange planet. Thanks, that's really descriptive.
we get a pirate race that ends in a tie. But it's okay that it resolves in both houses losing all their money because Boimler and Mariner conveniently are on a mission on a planet that was getting rid of all of their riches. So it all works out. They find the perfect Orion disposal people for that, and everyone can live happily ever after. It seems, but.
Yes.
Joel, I'll let you kick it off with the first opening statement. Just what was kind of your broad thoughts on Shades of Green before we get into the episode breakdown?
Yeah, this was really great. The whole post-scarcity thing, because, obviously there's tons of post-scarcity, most of the Federation, seemingly, and some others. But we've never seen transition. We all know they didn't start this way, especially Earth. So this is super fun, burning money and just throwing a party, not having to stand in line at the museum. I don't really get that one, but it was funny anyway. And it's like, what
It
are
doesn't
we
make the door
standing in
instantly
line
larger,
for? It's
but
like, well,
okay.
Yeah.
you can't all fit in there, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, like everything's free, but that doesn't mean like you have like more like
Yeah.
space capacity,
I mean, yeah, turning your stock exchange into an animal hospital. I mean, yeah. Using all your briefcases as litter boxes.
Strangely, it
just don't.
smells better.
And then yes, the finishing up Tendi's Orion arc is great. The race, and then we get callbacks to all this solar cell ships we've seen before. We get the it looks just like the pirate ship in Strange New Worlds with the big wheel for them, and yeah, it was lots of fun. And let's see what else here. And then yeah, unhappy capitalist terrorist cells in your post-scarcity world. I mean, kidnapping poor ensigns. I mean, yeah, it was a good time. Not for the ensigns. Well, they were okay, but because they
Bointer.
listened to Brad Bointner number.
Yeah, they got the
16 or
Bointers.
17. Know your
Bointers from
Florida.
Boimler. I had a lot of fun. Like I like that name Boimler. I just like everyone was having a hard time saying it when Lower Decks first got started, but they've Boims. I don't know. That's been like a lot of fun.
It's not syllables you encounter a lot in English. Boims.
I wonder if we're gonna get like either a social media post or something with all his pointers like listed out.
Yeah,
Or-
that'd be fun.
Or it could be like the rules of acquisition. Someone will just publish the whole thing.
I have
later.
right here
Yeah.
on my desk. I have the book of the Ferengi rules of acquisition.
There we
but
go.
they
There
didn't.
you
It still has like some blank numbers that have never like gotten anything in canon. But
Because they wanted to leave themselves room.
yeah, they wanted to leave themselves room in case they needed to invent one. For me, with Shades of Green, I really loved the Orion stuff, the race. Like all that animation was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the Tendi family stuff was cool. It was kind of fun watching how things ended up for them. Didn't really see that coming. And personally, as a big lefty, I love seeing Trek antagonize capitalism. I kind of wish it wasn't such like an oversimplification with like, oh yeah, we just like get replicators and then everything is fixed. And I think people do kind of conflate like using currency in a barter system and capitalism are kind of like two different things. That's not like the same
Yes.
thing. But whatever. This is an animated comedy. They don't need to get into the weeds with all that.
You could use the gold and jewels for other things too. Like they wouldn't have to be disposed of.
Yeah,
necessarily.
a lot of that doesn't make a ton of sense. But the important thing though is like I think the right message is like, oh, the rich corporate assholes are the bad guys. So as long as you get that right, I think you're I think you're doing something right. But
If you leave it to them, they will arm their Roombas. We don't want that.
well, that didn't work
Oh,
out
I
too
love
great
that.
for them. So,
No, it didn't. But, they still did it, and they had to deal with it.
but yeah, it's best to avoid that, I guess. Aaron, what
Those are
about
really
you? What's kind of your broad thoughts on Shades of Green?
I really liked Shades of Green. I liked like you said, the pirate race was great. The The subplot with the Erica being pregnant was a little sitcom-y, like a little predictable in that sense. But it works out well that there's a twist on it where she's protecting Tendi, as opposed to just trying to stay in the fight and not get whatever put aside because she's pregnant. And I did like that they mentioned, it's like, I was born mid sword fight or whatever. So, like, I mean,
That made
you
me
can totally
laugh.
see that.
Yeah, like the instant visual you get of that. It's just like, that's hilarious, and also like the most Orion thing ever.
Exactly. Make but no, I love that. I love the having the Boimler thing. That's kind of his beginning to try and grow the beard, and he's following this,
that
this
mustache,
path of the other Boimler. The mustaches.
We
It's
were
like 4
wondering.
lines. It's like 4 lines only, and it
Yeah.
still looks horrid.
We were wondering if that's what they were talking about at Comic-Con. Jack Quaid is saying, "Oh, there's like an ongoing visual thing with Boimler this season," and Mike McMahon was like, "Oh, don't we just showed this crowd an entire episode. We don't have to give away all of our secrets."
And then we guess beard.
Yeah, it was like enough for us to piece it together.
Yeah. That was the thing after those people saw the 2 episodes that we hadn't seen. There, no matter how they talked about it, there's a few things that you could just infer just based on
Yeah,
what they were,
especially
what they were
questions from the audience who'd seen it.
saying. Yeah. No, I really love that. I liked that we get Tendi back. It didn't drag on. The Blue Orion, I hope they come back at some point or something like that. It feels like they wrap that up really quickly. But
Well, now we
but
can
yeah.
go into the Blue Orion novel verse. So
That's right.
we set it up.
The Pirate Queen seemed Irish. Is it just me, or did she have like a little bit of an Irish accent at
Oh,
one point?
I'll have to go back and look for that. But
I
but
noticed it was different than everyone else,
Yeah,
but
but I do love that the what is it, the Roomba? It's like at the end, it's like, I will no longer use my whatever for evil. It's like, good for you. You had a little story. You had a little story for yourself. Which reminds me kind of like of Knick Knack or whatever.
there was also that too
Price
when
Point.
when the Roombas, their gardening Roombas,
Yeah.
discover the passed out ensigns. Mariner tells them they're like that because they didn't water them, and they get really mad. They go, "Oh, I almost lost it." Yeah,
yeah, the
you forgot to
robot,
water them.
the robot that failed as a guard and a gardener.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest disgrace, I guess, if you're a gardener, is if something died because you didn't water it.
Yes.
I just love that
Fun
they
game.
have these little bits and pieces that are things that you remember, and they're a really big beat, but they don't take up that much time at all. So
Oh god, that was
like
just
you said,
tiny line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they compact so much into such a short piece of time that, and I know some people complain that goes too fast, but I don't know. It just feels to me. I think now I've gotten used to the pacing, and it doesn't.
Yeah, it's
Doesn't feel
much faster
rushed.
than regular Trek, but
Yeah,
you get used to it.
which is funny because if you watch it, there's some TAS episodes that feel like 9 times longer than some of these episodes
Yes.
too. So
They're
you
not talking.
time
fast.
dilates in both ways.
It's true.
In some ways, like Lower Decks is the most efficient Star Trek because it can deliver like so much information so quickly, and I think that's
Yeah.
just easier to do in animation. I think with the more simpler visuals, it's easier
That
just
too,
to
yeah.
convey the important stuff to an audience. And yeah, like things can just like just move at a faster pace.
And given the time period that they're set in, they don't have to redesign a lot of the look and feel, so they have lots
Yeah.
of references already, which is helpful.
But
Well,
they do the Treknobabble really fast, very well.
But it gives us so
LeVar
much
didn't
like
have to
fun.
do it fast.
It gives us so much like fun stuff to like. Oh, we can like spend hours on the internet in front of cameras and microphones talking about all of this stuff. Like every season, it's like there's
And we
There's
will
so
not
much
talk
packed
as
in.
fast as them.
No, we do have to
I
say
can't do that spontaneously. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not fun to try and do it on stage either. I made myself a
Oh my
scientist.
goodness.
That was a mistake.
It's one thing to if you have a script, I understand, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel sorry for like the actors who end up getting stuck with all of the Treknobabble lines. But yeah, like Anthony Rapp, it was like halfway through season 1 of Discovery, I was like, oh no, he's like the new LeVar Burton. He's gonna get all of these lines now. Like after the writers figure out who's good at like delivering that stuff, they start feeding it all to you.
yeah.
I imagine he probably thinks of it as just like a song that he has to memorize or something like that. It probably becomes just the sound and pacing as opposed to like trying to think of what the words actually mean.
Yeah, that's one thing, it's interesting hearing actors talk about is it's almost kind of like when you're doing like Shakespeare, doing like other stuff with like very like atypical language, but it's like beneficial to at least have like some like basic understanding of like what these words mean, even if you don't know all of the details. It's still just to know what to emphasize and what not to, and to get like the delivery down.
I remember
real quick little. Oh, sorry.
You go first.
No, I was going to say the visually when they're doing that model of the Blue Orions, like they're trying to figure out how they're going to attack them.
Oh yeah.
That model looked an awful lot like Gotham from the animated Batman series.
Oh, cool. I didn't think
Like
that, but I can
color-wise and
totally
stuff, it was
see it
like,
now.
oh wow, that's sort of I was just like, hey, wait, where are they?
Nice. Yeah,
Anyway.
let's get into that into our episode breakdown.
Well,
Let's
first,
start with
I was
that.
just gonna what we were just talking about. I remember hearing Billingsley talk about from Enterprise how he could memorize all the Technobabble just fine, but then they would come and say, "Oh no, we're changing the name of that alien race that you say in the middle," and then he would be completely off, and he couldn't do it. So he's like, "No, I'm going to say the original one. We'll ADR the one word over later," because he'd figured
already
it out.
like
He
trained with
he
those,
can do it,
but
but
like practiced,
he can't
rehearsed with
change
those
it.
lines.
and then be able to do it with the delivery of emotion that you need to do. And all
Like
this
I
stuff.
get that. Like I don't pivot well in the heat of the moment either. I like to no, I want to do all the heavy lifting first and like plan it all out, and then like have like a plan and structure. Like I can't like change on a dime. I can understand an actor having a hard time with that process.
Because that doesn't happen when you're on the stage. They don't change proper nouns.
Right.
After
You don't have like the
memorize
writer
lines.
like come. Yeah, like I know you've been like rehearsing this for like weeks, but like we really want you to say this instead. Shades of Green. With this episode breakdown, let's start with the Tendi Orion stuff. That's more like the A story of this episode, and then we can talk about the Cerritos on Targalis 9 in a moment. But starting off with like the Tendi stuff, we get like the sisters strategizing with the. I thought that was like a cool little like holographic. Again, like that's another animation thing where that would be like too big budget to build that cityscape for these people to like run around through and just show like, oh, it's just like the two sisters strategizing over wing slug rolls, whatever those are. But
flying slugs or something. Yeah.
If
you look at the bag, they have like four wings and the slug shape, and
I eat like a lot of like gross bar food, so maybe I would like those. I don't know. I did kind of like fall for the to Erica stuff pretty quick, and she's like, "Oh, it's just heartburn." I was like, "Oh, I want to know what's wrong with her," but I
thought it was the plague for a second.
I guessed right away.
But he guessed right away. Yeah, exactly.
She's just been married,
right?
And she's having weird food cravings. And,
right.
Her sister's like, "What?" So.
Well, Joel's a little sharper at pattern recognition than I am.
I just think everyone's pregnant all the time. I think you're both pregnant.
Well,
it's just the default.
I won't confirm or deny, but the to Erica line, there's daggers in every room, and Tendi is like, "Oh, I was just in here looking for a dagger," and she's like, "But there's daggers in every room." I was like, "Oh, that's kind of funny."
Starfleet brain.
Yeah, and then the Starfleet brain line was funny, but yeah, the Erica pregnancy. I agree with you, Aaron. I did really like the twist we get later on. That was like, oh, I was actually like hiding this from you to protect you, so that you wouldn't have to like stay and train my kid.
Yeah.
Which like maybe that's like not maybe is the title Mistress of the Winter Constellation like by the end of this, is that like retired after like their house is defunded or whatever? Like I don't
know.
Is that why she's not gonna have to like stay and? I can't. That's like such like a cool thing. I can't imagine like they'd want to like throw that away. But just like that name is just cool.
Maybe the name gets transferred to the niece. Like she
Yeah, I'm not
becomes
sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's something there we don't know about how that works.
But yeah, and I guess like we don't really need to know how like the Orion, like Prime's sister, and like I guess like the Prime and like the Mistress is like the two different titles, but maybe like
I'm sure. Yeah, there's like a giant family tree with lines and yarn and everything. We don't need to know that. But...
And the blue Orions are called Azure House. Am I saying like the
Azure,
color,
yeah.
right? Like Azure, right? That's like
Yep.
a shade of blue.
Azure,
Yep.
yeah.
Like
And
in Sliders when they had the Azure Gate Bridge. It was the Golden
The
Gate
other-
Bridge, but it was blue.
The other fun name that we get is Blizzards for the pterodactyl thing, the screeching pterodactyl.
I wish
Which
that
didn't
those
make
were the
the
purple.
TAS noise.
Yeah, I know. It should have been like the purple bat things from the animated series. That would have been funny.
I'm just gonna
If they just
refer
made
to
the noise.
all of the weird dragon pterodactyl things in the end. There's like 4 or 5 different like variants of it, and I think they all have like the same sound, no matter what
it's-
planet they go to. But
Maybe one of
It's,
them is the one Billup's got too.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just off screen.
yeah.
it's Godzilla with blended with something.
Oh
else.
yeah, it's like the Godzilla cartoon. Yeah, I had
Yeah.
that sound effect. I'm just gonna call all of them Blizzards from now on, though. Like
Yeah, it works.
they can all be Orion pets.
It's a Blizzard kind of world.
I think it was Marvel Dragons was one of them in the animated series.
Oh yeah.
But I liked the design of the queen and the I guess like I don't know like the Orion like court or whatever that they're in, and then like all of the race stuff. I was pointing out how that looks super cool, but like the
yeah.
solar sailing ships, which kind of ties into DS9, you know, explorers.
Yeah.
Ben and Jake in a ship like that. The Cutiny was even though it makes
That was
no
so
sense.
hard to spell in my notes. My goodness.
Like
Spell check
like
doesn't help.
that joke would
it's
only
not
work in like English language. Like are they speaking like Federation Standard or like I guess like in Orion language? Maybe you can make like a cute mutiny pun like that. But I don't care. It was funny. But the non-lethal mutiny.
If you've seen this Lower Decks episode in another language, please tell us how. this
Yeah,
was
how do they translate that? What are they
Oh,
doing
you
for
were-
the
you were
German
talking-
audience?
You can do that stuff
That's
because
a good
I
idea.
know I've read about people translating like ancient Greek and stuff, and there's stuff like that in those things. They're not
You were
necessarily
talking
jokes,
about
but
the
they figure out a way to do it. It's just a lot of work.
yeah. I know France has like issues with that sometimes.
Yeah,
to be a difficult
any translation
Language to do that. That you were talking about the pirate, the setup where Pirate Queen is.
The big
I just
wheel.
noticed that like all of the flags that are out front are all the different houses. So you've got the one that the
Oh.
Tendi's shape, you've got the one
Okay,
the blue Orions, and then you've got like 4 or 5 other ones.
I did
So
not.
they're different
notice
houses with different symbols. So that's kind of cool.
It's kind of reminiscent of what they were trying to do with the Klingons in Discovery Season 1, and I don't know if they
Yes.
were ever like real clear with it, but like the
I
idea
don't
was
think
that
they
there were like there were 24 great houses of the Klingon Empire, and I don't know if there were like other like not great houses if there's more than 24, but it sounds like Orion Society is similarly set up with like a bunch of different like family
Looks
houses.
like there's 12 probably.
So that's kind of like a Game of Thrones or like Dune or like a lot of stuff has
Yeah.
fun with that. What was the okay? I like that they have like grapplers. It's like kind of like Enterprise. Like the
Yeah.
grapplers get like a lot of love now for whatever reason. But
because
Uh,
grapplers are cool.
what did they
I
what
like
did they
grapplers.
grapple? Is that like a comet? Like what did they hook onto to like get
I think
unstuck?
it's a comet.
It's supposed to be a comet, but that's kind of weird. But yeah.
When it like made their grapple cable like glow with energy. I wasn't really sure what was going on there, but it did look cool.
It was full of tons. Makes
Yeah,
you grapple,
it's-
girl.
There's
Yeah, maybe
Toms
it's
that Hope to Erica was shielded from.
Trying to see if it scanning forward to see it. But yeah, the fact that it pulled them along so fast too. It's just like the ship was not meant to go this fast. It was falling apart.
No
Do we know
initial
what the
dampers.
treasure was that they were trying to get?
Yeah, it was just like
Did
this.
it? No, you could see it in that
It's just a glowing thing.
case, but
Yeah, just like a
case, yeah.
little It looked like in a video game or something. It'd be like that's like a power up that you have to like run to and grab or something. It's like
I
clearly
kept
like here's like a
yeah.
glowing objective that it was very video gamey, you know.
It healed them 100%.
Yeah,
It.
they're like made like their attacks do 4 times damage or something.
I guess
It might
the
have been
first
just
time
that
I
something
watched
they
it, I thought they'd
manufactured
explain
for
it.
this.
But
Oh yeah. I'm wondering if that's like instead of it being a real grappler, maybe it was like an energy grappler or something like that. Not a physical. Maybe it's a beam or something like that. Like a. I don't know. Probably not.
But I did think, you know, Tendi being so like kind of like naive and positive and optimistic, like, oh, it'll be a tie, so we'll both get to you know, keep our house's money. And then the queen is so pissed off, like, what do you mean you like compromise? Like, no, that's not piratey. You both lose. The syndicate's taking all of your wealth, both houses.
That was great.
Kind of bait and switch there.
I do like at the end too, though. We'll skip slightly ahead. That the Orions seem to be working for their family at this point because they're carrying the gold for them. So it's just like
right,
putting the
we'll hire
pearls
you.
in their mouth for some reason.
Yeah, so I assume if we see to Erica or Tendi's family like any more in the future, they'll have these blue Orions working for
Blue
them.
houseboys.
Yeah, they're new servants. Did y'all have any other thoughts on the Tendi pirate stuff before we talk about the Cerritos stuff?
I did like that the solar sails were shaped like their family crests.
Yeah,
That was kinda
I
cool.
didn't notice that. Yeah.
I noticed it in the original one, the trailer. But if you look at the one with the blue Orions, they're just basically that V.
Yeah.
But then kind of like done around in a circle, so it's like it's using the same elements of that symbol.
They're kind of wing-like shapes, so it works pretty.
Yeah.
and both ships are different. Like it was easy to like you know, like recognize them. You knew like which one was in the lead. All that stuff.
Yeah.
The only thing that confused me was like the weird comet grappler action, but that was at least, you know, visually pretty cool to look at.
Yeah.
So while all that's going on, we have our B story on Targalis 9, the new planet joining the Federation, just achieved post-scarcity technology, and Boimler and Mariner being lieutenant junior grades, kind of bossing around some ensigns, giving orders to ensigns, and yeah, Boimler's bointers that he seems to be stealing from bearded Boimler.
Yeah, I got the
From the Beckyverse.
Yeah.
I got the feeling those were written exactly like that in the pad,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just like memorizing.
Could have been in that article even.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
Brad
those
Boimlers.
ensigns are new characters. And one of them's a
Yep.
Tellarite. But,
Tellarite. I did not
well,
write down his name, but
while that stuff's going on, we occasionally cut back to the Cerritos and see Rutherford and T'Lyn and see you know, Rutherford still coping with his Tendi withdrawals.
I love the door, like just doing like a
yeah,
shock thing every once in a while. Just like suddenly it opens up and then
there's a lot of door
There's the
stuff
person.
in lower decks.
yeah.
Like when transporter clone Boimler came back, the doors wouldn't work for him,
Yeah, that's right.
and then now that's not working with Rutherford's
Jump scare.
implant.
That was the word I was looking for.
There was one scene too that reminded me so much of Star Wars. T'Lyn on the shuttle welding looked just like Chewbacca
Oh,
welding on
yeah.
Falcon
Oh,
in
yeah.
Empire Strikes Back.
You're right.
I thought that was pretty fun.
I feel like Lower Decks does that on occasion. It'll have
Yep.
like a little bit of like other Star franchise
Yeah.
poking. Like in the very first episode when Mariner talks about being stuck in a sentient cave and it's like, do you know what that is? It's like a dark place that knows things. It's like, is that supposed to be like the cave that like Luke goes into in The Empire Strikes Back? Or, you know, like little
so.
stuff like that pops up every now and then.
And they go to Mos Eisley in one episode, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And in
The one
that
with
in that
Nick Locarno.
episode, the
Yeah.
people who were like bossing them around, like where to park their starship, they seemed very like Empire, you know,
Yep.
Yeah.
with the caps and the British accents. But This had the gag that we saw in the trailer of Boimler getting on the hover cruiser backwards.
Yep.
Would they go to look for their captured ensigns? But I liked that when Boimler like freaks out about where are they? They're supposed to be working on this, and like Mariner is like, oh, this is buffer time. I respect this,
Yeah.
like.
I also like when he commandeers the ship, and they're like, "That's okay, we'll just replicate a new one."
He seems so upset. He's like, I have to do this. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, no problem.
I'm like, okay.
And the running gag of Boimler keeps talking into Mariner's
Yeah.
badge.
Yeah,
And
that was so
Ransom
funny.
knows this. He's like,
That Ransom
do you
was
need
like-
a comm badge? Did you lose
Yeah.
yours?
But
It's
yeah, it
like,
makes
oh,
sense.
you're sharing a
Like,
comm badge. Love that for you. And then
Like from Ransom's perspective, it would be like, this is kind of weird. Why am I always talking to Boimler on Mariner's comm badge? You know,
I imagine it shows up on like a monitor because he couldn't hear it, but
the comm
I'm
badges
sure
don't
there's a
really make
visual
sense. When like people tap those, this has bugged me since I was a kid. But you know, they on the Next Generation, Picard would be like Picard transporter room. But like on the other end, like they always seem to be like carrying it. Like as soon as he says like Picard, you know, it's like coming through. Like how would it know to like go to the transporter room until he says the word transporter room? Or is this like the
Psychic
AI
comm
is like
badges.
good at predicting? Yeah, I
psychic
don't know.
comm badges.
It's like
and everybody,
well, like,
it's the FTL technology or whatever that's in it. That's in what am I trying to say? The technical manual has the FTL chip they talk about. So it's faster than light. So maybe it like goes back in time slightly or something.
With the tons. Tachyons.
With the tons, yes.
yeah, I guess if we want to, like, we can eventually like find explanations for all this
Yeah.
stuff. So just
Well,
might
the
as
fact
well
that
just-
somebody's just there waiting to hear it, that's the weird
I
thing.
have
It's
to
like you're
erase
just
my
waiting around.
whiteboard, and then I can figure this stuff out. But
the reactionaries that capture the Starfleet ensigns. What was their plan exactly? Were they just gonna like hold them for ransom, or like what were they?
I
what
think
were they
were
grabbing
just
them
very
for?
angry.
Give us money. Like, okay, here. Doesn't do anything anymore.
I think they had money. They're just like
Yeah.
they needed to recognize that it was rare and that everyone else wanted it, and that wasn't happening.
They were upset that they no longer were in power, essentially. They don't
I
they
wrote
don't
down-
have any sway over anybody.
I wrote down exactly what they were called at first because I couldn't. The first time I didn't hear it all. It was elitist terrorist cells of unhappy capitalists.
Is that an abbreviation for anything?
Well, Eka Ook.
Yeah.
See, yeah, they're capitalists, so they can't figure out good abbreviations on their own. They'd have to hire someone to do that.
They'd have
And
to
now
pay
no one
someone
wants
to
their
do
money.
it. Yeah, and no one wants to
their
work
money,
for
so-
them.
Chat
Yeah.
GPT doesn't want to do it.
Nope, ChatGPT is outliving its best life now.
There was a fun little what would have been a Gorneg in here if we had time for those, but it is possible to still do everything right and get kidnapped by the corporate elite. That was
I wrote that down.
that was a nod to the Picard line. It is possible to do everything right and still lose. That was he was talking about like Data and the Stratagema, right? From I can't think of the name of the episode, but when they're doing the
Oh.
war game exercises in season 2.
Yeah,
what
with
is
the
that
finger
called?
things.
Yeah.
It's not just called finger things. That's what no.
Stratagema is the name of the game.
Yeah, I remember
Right.
that. For some reason, that always stuck in my head. Maybe because it was so
Uh,
close to Stratego.
The
like that game.
Colmari or Peak Performance.
Peak Performance. There we go.
Okay,
Yeah, it
that
has
is
the,
such a bland name. Yeah.
I know. The only way I remembered it was like by finding the name of the alien and then going.
everyone forgets, but Armin Shimmerman also plays a Ferengi in that episode as well.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun line. It's possible to still do everything right and get kidnapped by the corporate elite. And then I'm glad that the ensigns weren't really dead. That was
Yeah.
kind of the joke, I guess, being like, oh, look at what a convenient contrivance this is. Like those pointers really come in handy. But I guess
Yep. Fauna
Good.
leads to comas. Leads to fooling the
The
room
tie-dye
to
coma
think you
beetle.
haven't- Yeah. Yeah, it was that was a good looking little beetle they drew.
that's a. I mean, like if you got to make up an alien space bug, you know, might as well make it have
Yeah.
like this cool tie-dye look to it.
Iridescent tie dye. Yeah.
We talked about the robots were funny.
I also realized
do
that the
like the
robots
straps.
look an awful lot
Yeah.
like Surge from Caprica. There was a robot that's sort of like a pinball type thing that would float around, and
I saw part of
Yeah.
that. I didn't watch the whole thing.
I watched
yeah.
Caprica, but it was like 14 years ago or whenever it was on.
Yeah,
But
it's
like
about right.
the Galactica spinoff.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
they looked pretty familiar, I guess. But I guess I like what that says. I like the idea is like, oh, like billionaires are like worked hard for their wealth is kind of a myth, right? It's like, yeah, they actually would be kind of like helpless, you know, with maybe like they have like some like robotic servants, but they're not gonna get any work done
Go
themselves.
learn to
so
eat dirt or whatever.
yeah, go live off
I-
the grid then.
I do like the aliens from this Targolis. Did you notice what there was going on with their head? It took me a while.
A lot. There is a lot going on there.
It's like their earlobes were really long, pulled up over their head, and put into a bun.
You don't know if that was like if that was the intent or if that was like an actual like structure like loop over
I'm
their
not sure.
head.
Yeah.
They like
And they have,
orange aliens in Lower Decks. We've seen a
They
couple
do.
of orange species have been introduced to the Star Trek canon through this show.
And they also have like those double the mugs that have like two globes basically stuck together. Everybody seems to have that kind of cup on this planet.
Yeah, Star Trek
Maybe
is
that's their
very,
equivalent of like a beer keg or a beer mug.
Yeah. They like to get to weird things like that, and then yeah, the whole sector uses those. Yeah.
Yeah, it does look like they put it's almost like a Easter bunny kind of thing. Like,
Well, I remember
Do
there's
your
a
ears
song.
hang low? Yeah.
Yes.
Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tile men a knot? Can you
yes.
tile men a? Those lyrics inspired this design. I think we
I'm
cracked
pretty
the code,
sure.
Joel.
That's my mom used to sing that, and that's what I thought of.
There it
when I
is.
noticed.
Hopefully that's a public domain song and we don't get like a copyright strike or something. I think we're in the clear for that
I think
one.
that's
but-
pretty old.
yeah.
We'll find out.
Did y'all have any other thoughts on Targelis 4 before we talk about the ending scene and Tendi's return to the Cerritos?
oh, I did when the ensigns were dying, or they thought they were dying. It's like Boimler says, "Turn away from the mountain."
Oh yeah, we get the Black Mountain shout out
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that was nice.
Because he was doing CPR on the Tellarite too. I think when that happened, because he thought they were
Yeah.
dead. I hope he didn't.
So
hurt
that was
the
my.
Tellarite.
Yeah.
Don't do CPR on people who are alive.
I
and
was
not dying.
happy. I was happy that we got like that quick glimpse of Guji at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was helping not repair the shuttle but break it back down so that they could Talon and Guji tore it back down so that they could rebuild it with now that
I didn't
Tendi
notice
is back.
Gucci at first because I was taking notes. Aaron's
Yeah,
like,
I-
oh,
and
Gucci
then I was like,
there.
"Oh, is it logic-y maybe because of like Tlin?" And then I was like, "Oh no, wait, he got destroyed."
He needs to like Guji. That was like a good use for him because I think that voice actor I guess he only like shows up maybe like once or twice a season, but they could have him doing things in the background all season long. He's kind of
Yeah.
like, and maybe because it's close to Halloween and I've been watching some of the '80s cartoon, the real Ghostbusters, the Ghostbusters cartoon, but in that show they kind of have the ghost Slimer, who's kind of like the mascot of Ghostbusters. He becomes like a pet. He's like a sidekick almost, and that's kind of what Guji makes me think of. He's kind of like, he could just be like Slimer, just like this little like friendly cartoon character floating around in the background, helping out.
It's like Murph, but not quite as useful. Yeah.
Yeah, or almost kind of like he's almost kind of like a R2-D2 type,
Yeah.
The little friendly sci-fi pet. Well, I don't know. Is that like condescending to call Guji a pet? Like he's kind of like a child. He kind of like he calls like Rutherford father, right? So.
Yeah.
Well, he's not quite a crewman. He's not quite. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like a sentient
familiar.
hologram, like
He's
Vic
a Neelix.
Fontaine.
He's a Neelix.
Yeah, he is
He's
kind
not
of
a
like the
pet, but
Neelix.
he's kind of a pet.
But yeah, we have the conveniently the House of Tendi will do the trash disposal for
That was a good nice use of that.
Targelis, not yeah. I didn't see it coming, so it kind of tied everything together.
Yeah.
Shades of Green also like talk about like money, perhaps.
Yep.
Yeah, they had very American-looking currency in some ways.
Yeah.
I'd be curious if we can go back and re-engineer their language, because they have like their signs up in English and
Yes, I noticed that.
alien
but
language.
I did not make an alphabet.
Oh yeah, yeah. There
Wanna
was
get
like a
some
lot
free
of
time.
like there was like a lot of like English. Yeah, I guess they're in the Federation now, so they're putting like the Federation standard on
Yeah.
everything. But they showed a lot of these 2 episodes in the trailers, and I'm
Yes.
happy about that, because that means we've
Yeah.
seen very little of
Yeah.
the remaining 8 episodes.
Yeah, we'd mentioned that before. That's really nice. There's not going to be huge surprises.
And
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
all
going to be
the
huge.
long
Sorry,
parts.
there's not going to be huge spoilers. I guess is
Yes.
what I'm saying.
It will be huge surprises because we did
Yes.
not get huge spoilers. There we go.
I'm still getting over being sick, so my brain is a little mushy right now.
I do that when I'm not sick. So
Well, we had a double stuffed episode. We had 2
Yes.
episodes of Lower Decks to talk about, and I'm happy and impressed. We got through both of them in an hour and a half. So good job, us. I did miss having the audience to interact with, though. I guess it made things
Yeah.
Flow a little quicker. But I
It
missed
is,
having
but-
you on the live chat.
wait, audience! What you just wrote was hilarious and 100% true.
Gold,
Thank
straight
you.
up gold. Thank
Jill,
you.
that is totally correct.
Anyone who, if anyone was kind enough to leave a super chat, thank you so much for that. Sorry that we weren't able to read it, but we'll read it next week when we gather again to talk about Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 3. And reminder, people, tune in on Thursday nights. Rachel and the gang are live with the first reaction stream. That's open to the Tex-Trek Patreon supporters too. So anyone giving in the Patreon, if you want to appear on those streams, let me or Rachel know. You are welcome on Thursday nights. And on Fridays, Joel, Aaron, and I plan to be live the rest of the season. But we will be bringing the deep dive discussions on Friday nights. So looking forward to these 8 remaining episodes with Mariner and Boimler and the Cerritos Lower Deckers.
Yeah, we're 20% done, which just
That's sad. Oh, that hurt, Joel.
Yeah.
I know. I don't mean to do the math, but it's just like
Sometimes math hurts.
I don't know why they do this on a season 5. It's just like
It's the power
I
of math,
understand
Joel.
at premieres you want to get people in, you want to suck people in, start watching, but
Yeah,
it's
they
season
want
5.
They wanted to be a big trending thing on social media, make a big impact this week. But I had a lot of
Like
fun with these episodes. Had a lot of fun breaking them down and talking about them with you 2 gentlemen.
I hope
So,
the big thing this season is actually Billup's dragon. That's just the whole.
I need to
overarching
see
plot.
that dragon. You can't
'Cause,
mention
You
that.
start here with just him being all burnt,
Chekhov's dragon.
and then
Yeah.
it just becomes bigger and bigger till it escapes, and it's it's
Pavel Chekhov's dragon.
there you go.
But
You know,
let's get
dragons
back
were
together.
invented in Russia.
Yeah, of course. Little old lady in Leningrad, right?
Yep.
Let's get back together next week and do this again for 503. And until then, as always, live long and prosper, y'all.
Listen to the Tex-Trek podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or at tex-trek.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/tex-trek. And follow Fatheree on Twitter at TXTrek. Please support us by liking our videos and subscribing to our channel on YouTube. Thank you and take care.